welcome to the MSC Performance podcast. We're going to dive straight in. It's been a while since we've talked some things training, so we're just going to talk about a couple of different clients that we're working with, some exciting things that we're all getting ready with. From my perspective, we're going through powerlifting. The World Champs have just taken place, and it's now very much competition season, so we'll dive into some examples of some powerlifting training and how training blocks differ from person to person depending on different proportions, different individual characteristics. We're going to talk a little bit about some weightlifting success that Mark's had, and also dive into some strength training for hyrox. But first off, a little bit of flirting, because we are all here. It's a Friday. How are we all?
I'm well, thanks, Luke. I'm fine. Yeah, very good. Excited to be here. Been a while since I've done a podcast, I think. So
you're fully recovered.
Back in the game. Yeah, the challenges and stuff have been amazing. Fully recovered now, 3 peaks, etc. Ready to go.
Awesome.
2 more to go.
And you're in amongst it as well, getting ready for Swits.
2 weeks.
Feeling good.
2 weeks.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Training's good.
Training's good. It's good to have you guys back. The last one was a solo polo one.
It's a good pod.
I loved it. It was a nice little, all jokes aside, because we were driving up. I was like, should we ever listen to it? We listened to it. I was like, that's good. That is.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was quite lonely.
You did take the piss out of the headset, and it actually turned out to be pretty good.
Take the piss out of the what? Sorry.
The
torches.
The torches. You said Luke's bought the cheapest torches.
The Timu torches.
And I was worried because we kept putting them on, they kept dropping off because there wasn't really a clip on them, was there? So it just kind of kept flopping off. But in the end, it worked out.
So they weren't great.
Yeah, right.
They
did
great.
The job. Have you kept yours?
Yeah, it's around somewhere.
I'm pretty sure I'm never going to use it ever again, but I've put it in a drawer just in case I ever do it.
Memento.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Starting off with the World Champs. I think more than ever, the level has gone up again. The standard is super high. I think it's all down to attempt selection. Is what I saw from the World Champs, and there's a couple of people that went 6 for 9, 7 for 9, and they're not winning anymore. And there used to be a time where there was a couple of people that were like complete deadlift specialists, and they'd try and pull something big to win, and it's just, you can't do it anymore. You've got to be amazing across the board. You've got to be world class pretty much at all 3 lifts, and you've got to get your attempts in. And it was really cool to see that, more than ever, being good on the day has really started to matter.
How does that make you feel when you look back on your competition time? How do you think how do you think you would fare now, with this level, if you were dropped into this level?
Well, actually, I was watching the 74s. I would have come 10th. My best ever total would have come 10th, which would have been really, really happy with still. I was pretty good at attempt selection, I think, but the average good powerlifter used to go 7 for 9, and I think now there's a couple of people that went 6 for 9 that won, but there's this one woman, Agatha. I'm not sure if you've heard of her. She's across the weight categories the best ever. She's 23. Right. She's easily the best. She competed as a 69, and she was trying to drop down to as low as she could. She weighed in at 63.5, and she went 6 for 9. And she won by I think 25 or 30 kilos. She normally wins by 50 plus. Because her attempt session was off, all of a sudden she only won by 25, and she still won comfortably, but it weren't as comfortable as people thought. There was another couple of battles the 83s where there was 2 British guys against the American, and the American went 9 for 9, and he won, and the British didn't. And in the end, the British guy, who I'm a really big fan of, and I was really hoping he'd win, he went for the win on his last pull, and it was just a little bit too much because he'd missed a couple of lifts, and I think he'd missed his second deadlift. I think he might have missed a bench. But he made it harder for himself. And the guy going 9 for 9, if he'd have missed one lift, Ade would have won. It would have been a little bit lower and he would have won. But because the guy went 9 for 9, he won. And more than ever, it's come down to good attempt selection. And I think people say that 9 for 9 is this gold standard, and it's amazing. But people sometimes, they go 9 for 9 and they've coasted through. You've got to
shot it.
Yeah. Going 9 for 9 is amazing if you've got as close to your maximum on the day. Let's say you're warming up and you're if you knew my best squat is going to be 263, so if you do 265 you miss, you do 262.5, it's perfect. If you get 260, amazing. But if you do 255, you've just left kilos in the tank. You've got to get that 9 for 9, and you've got to reach as close to that number without tipping over it.
Interesting. So again, going back to you as a competitor in that world, how would a missed lift affect you, and which would be your least favourite lift to miss?
So you've got to play the percentages here. For me, and for most people, bench press, I always said you can't win on bench, but you can lose. Bench is so small compared to the other. So I deadlifted 295, my bench was 142, so it's literally half. So if I miss a lift, it's 2.5 to 5 kilos. If I miss a squat or a deadlift, it's 10 to 15 kilos, and it matters way more. A lot of like lighter women that go like 2.5 kilo jumps, because again, proportionately, it's like 5. If you're doing 60 kilo, it's about 4 or 5% from a 2.5 jumps. If you miss that, it doesn't matter, because you've kind of maximised the total anyway. So if you're going to miss any, it's going to be that third bench. If you miss a squat or a deadlift, it's a lot of times big kilos, so you really want to avoid that. The caveat to that is that third deadlift, you're choosing the number that's going to get you the best place. So you might say, oh, my best deadlift's going to be 250, but 255 gets you second or third, and you're going to go for it because you've got to, and then you start missing them. But you've got to get to that point where you've gone 8 for 8, and then you've got a chance. Great example last night was Christian, the British guy. He actually said in his write-up, he said, if I can go 8 for 8, and then I can just try and do a Hail Mary third pull to see what I can do, I might be able to get somewhere. And he tried like the world record, which was 374 at 93, and he was like 2 inches away from lockout, and he was super happy because he said my whole plan was to go 8 for 8, maximise the total, and then if I've got a chance, I'll just fucking go for it. And he had to go for it, and he was super close, man. And another day he might have got it. It was class to watch, man. So
I suppose there's not as much reward with the bench press going like for the extra couple of kilos.
Yeah, like I was again, like I think
the reward's not quite the same. You know, you want to get them in, eh?
Yeah, if you go 140 and then you miss 145, or you do 170, you miss 170, it's only 5 kilos. You still got to build the total, and it does matter, but out of the 3 is probably the least important one, I think. Is that what you meant? Or
Yeah,
definitely. But yeah, man, it's been cool. We're very much in the powerlifting season. It got me thinking. I was thinking about a couple of guys that are competing over the next month, and I had two great examples of very different approaches to a training block. And it's interesting because someone mentioned, like, oh, why is Alex going so light? And Alex is the 120 lifter. You've probably seen him lifting on the night. Lifts probably some of the biggest numbers in the gym. He's also one of the biggest guys, so with those big numbers comes fatigue. So it's all about the way I set his training programs up is a way to manage the fatigue just the absolute numbers create, compared to someone that's a lighter weight class, or in particular lighter women seem to handle the fatigue better. It made me think of Alex is doing because he's very popular in powerlifting circles to have a training block of ascending RPEs. So you do 6 RPE, 7 RPE, 8 RPE, 9. Alex does like 6, 6, 7, 9. Okay. And it's like he has this exponential kind of rise. So like he's like 2 weeks out, and he's just done a deadlift yesterday, and it's like ridiculously light. And someone's like, why is he going so light? And he's like, well, actually, we do this because if he goes 300 today and then he goes 310, he's super fatigue super high, fitness is high, but you're trying to manage the fitness fatigue model. Yeah. You're trying to keep that a little bit lower fatigue that comes with the numbers. So he's, especially on deadlift, he's doing this exponential thing. Bench is pretty much what I said about the 6, 7, 8 RPE, but on his deadlift we're really trying to manage that with like an exponential number to manage the fatigue. And then I was looking at that and then comparing it to a lighter class woman that I coach who's super nervous at these higher percentages and needs more exposure to these heavy weights more frequently. Right. And she's actually not doing the ascending, she's pretty much doing 8 RPE across the next 4 weeks and just building confidence week on week. And I thought it was a really good example of how like the individuality of strength training comes in, and like rather than just having, we've all got our models and we've all got our approaches, but individualizing that based off what we think that person needs. So the one person, we need to manage the fatigue, and that's when we do the exponential. The other person needs to get more comfortable and more confident at these heavy weights, and that's when we do the RPE across.
Yeah, it's fascinating. That's the individual aspect, isn't it? And I think like to give a weightlifting example, work with people who need to be like snatching openers like a few days before, like they need to be hitting those numbers to have the confidence to go in and actually hit it in competition. And you got someone like Jazz who, like, as long as we're within 20 kilos, we're ready, we're good, like it's all good. Well, with him it's just like build the squat, build his clean pulls and his squat, and we're good. Like if they're high, and snatch would go a bit closer, but like clean and jerk, like, you know, won't go much above like 140 in training ever, and he'll go 150, 160 in comp. Like he doesn't need to be able to demonstrate that strength in the gym. He knows if the squat's high enough, then he'll deliver on the day. Whereas like working with others over the years, like they need to be hitting
that
those
weight overhead
numbers.
as well, like
They need to
in the
feel it. They need to expose themselves to those numbers. But for other lifters, they're a bit more confident.
Do you think that just comes with time? Do you think Jazz just done it so long that he knows what? Does he have like a?
I think it's experience. I think it's personality. I think like it's a mix of everything.
Imagine Jazz has a number where, let's say it's 130 or something, where he does it. He's like,
we're good. We're good.
That feels amazing.
And if the squat's at X amount, like, normally in weightlifting, like, you've got the whole 85% rule. Like, if he's front squatting a certain amount, we know we can hit 85% of that, probably plus with Jazz normally. We can hit that in the comp, so like doesn't need to be exposing himself to that in training. But it's interesting what you say, like, and the same thing in powerlifting and the nuances and the differences between the lifters, and you've got to take that psychological approach into it. Like,
I do like the weight when it goes up every single week, because I think, like, an argument is like, could you just do 8 RP across the 4 weeks, or if you do ascending, because the 8 RP is you get stronger from the stimulus, you should lift a little bit more each week, and it should just go up anyway while keeping the RPE the same. So the argument is, could you do that and then you never miss out on going too light, versus the confidence it builds from going a bit more each week. The thing I think with that sometimes is you can go too light. Like, your week one's like, it's not a 6 RPE, it's a 5 RPE, and then all of a sudden you're probably not heavy enough for what you're trying to get, and then your last one's not an 8, it's a 10, and you've just added weight each week, and it's gone from being nothing to being too heavy, and you've only had a couple of weeks where it's been spot on. So there's pros and cons to each, but I do think like the individuality, it's really important. How do you find it with your? It's different in it with the hyroxes and stuff, but like, how does that kind of translate? I guess like the equivalent of like the equivalent would be your hyrox guys. How often are you doing a full simulator with it? Like, how many people are confident about, actually, I know I'm good, I don't need to do a sim, versus...
Well, this is it. Like, I've actually taken a different approach, because quite a lot of the guys are like into London and Birmingham over the next couple of months, and I've taken a different approach this time. So they're all actually in a metric testing window at the moment, because I think the one thing that I find with hyrox is that everybody wants to go sub whatever their time is. So like, let's say you want to go sub 1 hour 30. So I've started to build it backwards now. So in the metric testing, they're all doing their runs, Excel spreadsheet at home. Like, if you're running 4:30s on the kilometers, like, what do you need to do across the strength stations?
Right,
like, to give them a feasible...
You reverse engineering it.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, like, everybody's so focused on being faster. Some people aren't going to be faster. So can we build the strength for them to be quicker in the stations?
Yeah, so your running's always going to be 5 minutes, but let's try and get your wall time down.
Yeah, exactly. And again, just talking to one of my clients just about that exact thing, like, struggling to get faster around work, life, and all of the things. So, okay, then we'll focus on the strength side of stuff. Can we get you quicker over the sledge? Can we get you quicker on the lunges? Because we can do the strength work. So I've tried to reverse engineer it this time and work backwards from their ideal finish time on their run times and build their strength around that.
So I guess you're looking for bottlenecks, aren't you? You're looking, what is holding them back? What is the... If the running's set, what else can we do to get that time?
Yeah, and hopefully over, like, the next 6-12 months, when they do more experienced, like, racing stuff, they'll get quicker anyway, and they'll be able to run quicker in the race through experience. How
much do you do stuff like how, like, I guess some people just are confident in doing it, but like fatigued running, like you've done your wall,
contrast training. That's really, I guess, so they do 2 sessions a week of contrast work, and one of those is usually quite short, so it's like 400 meters straight into 2 or 3 of the exercises.
Nice.
With 11 period rest, and then go again, and then like you say, this sim situation of like a semi-sim, where early in the block you're trying to eke out the weaknesses and get them better, and then lengthen the sim closer to race day. But yeah, like, you've got to expose them to, as much of the race window as possible, like, even if it's not like 100%. But it's going to be an interesting block this time around. Obviously I had a client go 3rd the other week in Rimini, qualified for the World Championships.
Nice.
Are the World Champs now in Chicago?
Yeah.
Is she in Chicago?
So she deferred. So she qualified for the Worlds, and she's going to go next year.
Okay, you automatically go for next year.
Apparently you can defer it. I think Big Will will go quick. Will stride. I think he'll go maybe close to an hour in the next pro race he does. So, yeah.
So we're talking things strength. Your Will Stride, ex-powerlifter.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Crossed over really well.
versus someone that's not got that strength background? How does the individuality of that look?
I think actually, like, there's a really eat a strawberry.
I want a strawberry one.
Luke's guys. How many strawberries you got there, mate?
Not enough for you. Buckle off.
I think Will's a really good example, like, because he played football anyway, which we didn't know.
He was super fit already, wasn't he?
Yeah, super fit, super strong. Like, his crossover to pro weight for hyrox has not been any different to his open weight. Like,
because he's not limited by the strength.
No, he just needs to be quicker.
Yeah. But how does that look for him compared to, like, I can't think of anyone that's like does not have that strength background. Does the training look different or
massively?
Yeah,
massively. I guess, like, if respectfully take his girlfriend, like, she's not a powerlifter, she's not really a strength trainer, she was a Metconner.
Yeah.
Like, she is building from basic. She needs the strength and she needs to learn how to run faster.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different program, but it's still, like, working off those metrics of.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was going to say, guys, it's
the same sport.
The similarities. So, you know, with hyrox, with rugby, with, you know, anything really, it's the vertical integration model, isn't it? And then just identifying where the biggest bang for your buck is and where the improvements are to be made. And
big bottlenecks, baby.
You got to train. You know, with something like hyrox, you obviously got to train the strength. You got to train the endurance. You got to do the plyometric work, and it's just identifying with each individual athlete which, you know, one of those is the priority, isn't it? So it's like, you know, it's funny how it's kind of all different sports and there are nuances between, you know, all of them and differences and specificity, but the big sort of like 80%, I'd say, like the golden rules are all the same. It's like train everything all the time, but just prioritize one or two of those things. So, you know, in a pre-season, you know, rugby, off-season, it might be like build size, build a bit of tissue tolerance, not too bothered about like maximal strength for that stage or like speed, plyometric work. It's like just getting volume through. Come more into pre-season, that's where we're building the strength base, and then obviously, you know, we're looking at increasing the rate of force development, the power, the plyometric work. And it's the same with powerlifting, I guess, as well. Like, you know, off season, looking at probably a bit of skill work, a bit of tissue tolerance building, etc. And yeah, just interesting to hear with the hyrox, it's a similar thing, and just identifying what is more important for, you know, the athlete.
The powerlifting off season is a great example where it's like before we I'm just going to do high volume work, but some people are already like muscular enough, so actually they're limited by their technique more. So actually I'm going to be better off addressing the technique rather than addressing the volume. So actually, like, the individuality of the off season also matters there. Like, you'll have some people playing rugby that are already massive, but they don't need to get any bigger.
Yeah, we don't need to do a big 6-week off season.
Yeah, no, you can just, you know, like, you're already massive. So what we're going to do is, in fact, we're going to build. You're struggling in the last 20 minutes. You make a mistake. So let's get some fitness.
Get a head start on the aerobic stuff.
And that's the same with obviously the closer you get to competition, the more similar everyone's programming looks. Like, powerlifters are going to be doing heavier work, weightlifters are going to be doing heavier stuff, hyroxers are going to be doing more volume closer to the simulation. But further out is when you got the chance to be like, okay, Will's plenty strong, but he needs to work on.
But for him, it's consistency of pacing. Across his runs. Yeah, like, he's fast.
Could be skill, right? Skill's a component. So like, it could be skill with powerlifting. It could be skill. Look, working on the off season, the guys, you know, the girl's big enough, muscular enough, lean enough,
but you're making mistakes,
strong
so
enough. But like, we're going to just work the technical side,
and they're not exclusive either. But
rugby could be more on field stuff. In there, so. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice. You was going to talk a little bit about talking of strength, big jazz.
Yeah, putting up some good numbers. Putting up some good numbers, working towards the British. Really driving the front squat at the moment. So 2 front squats a week and like an accessory one in the middle of the week to support that, which has been a mix of some, you know, belt work and some single leg work, depending on where we're at. Early in the week, I guess, like, you know, you could say more of a volume and skill based front squat session, and then later in the week, like building up heavy. Very simple, very straightforward work. Way on early in the block, like some tempo work, some pause work in that sort of first front squat of the week, and then just got into like basic 5s really, and just gradually building that, but like a moderate RPE, and then later in the week, like really pushing the harder stuff with some heavy triples, and now actually moved in some cluster work, which is
clusters is tough for fronties.
Clusters is tough, especially for fronties, and like that is something we'd use very sparingly, especially for an experienced athlete like Jazz. But like, we can definitely, because it is a new stimulus, we can squeeze out some good gain, some good progress for an already experienced athlete by playing around with that for a short block, like a 4-week block. You know, we've already had a big increase already in the front squat. Now we're adding in front squat. I think it's going to add another 5-7 kilos on. Like, so it's going to be a big cycle to build that up.
What are your as a man that's just done a front squat cycle, and I was limited by my ability to hold the bar, what are your, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 tips that you've got for the front squat maybe compared to the back squat, I guess, outside of just doing it more? Like, is there anything in particular that you find like has a good return for a lot of people? As obviously talking generalistically, but
yeah, I suppose like bar path's the first thing that comes to mind. Like with the front squat, it's very easy to lose the bar path. So just good, you know, decent mobility, you know, T-spine, dorsiflexion, all the things I'm terrible at as well. But like, you know, obviously the closer, as with back squat, I suppose, but like with, you know, the closer the bar to the centre of mass, obviously the better. You know, and obviously in that front rack position, there's various factors that can, you know, tilt you forward and, you know, etc. So I think getting the skill right and getting comfortable with the movement is probably the key. You know, building, you know, strong enough trunk to feel comfortable holding the weight and enough mobility in that position as well. I think with that in mind, like a lot of slow tempo-y type work works well. Front squat is horrible, it's hard to do.
Because when I'm doing it, I just want to get the set done because it fucking hurts.
Yeah, exactly. But like,
so doing cluster tempo,
doing some speed. You know, when I say speed work, like slowing the speed down with the front squat works really nicely.
The bar path's an interesting one because like I see everyone analysing the low bar path, but I never see anyone front squat looking at the bar path. So that's a really interesting one. Cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like. Again, like, if there's a mobility issue, like bar could be swinging forward on the way down. If there's a pace issue, it could be the same. On the way up, you often see people shooting the hips up, you know, early, and therefore the torso's then tipping forward, and therefore the bar's outside the centre of mass, and therefore it's a lot of work on the middle back and the trunk. So the more efficient the squat, the easier it's going to be. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely some tempo work. It works really well with front squats, and some pause as well, just to get comfortable in that kind of, you know, bottom position. Yeah.
Swinging it to you, Steve. How's the training looking for the last few weeks as coach and athlete? How are we looking? How's the last couple of weeks of training been since we last spoke? And
tough.
What's the next 2 weeks looking like, Mark? If you want to give a coach's insight and an athlete's insight.
I need to film my programming first so we can see what I've done.
He's been a naughty boy this week, but
I've trained and just haven't filmed my
He's doing
programming.
well. He's doing well.
So what are you doing?
How
many sessions a week are you doing? What's it look like?
I think coming out the back of Cardiff Masters last weekend, I was away for like 3 days. We had a mini tournament last weekend. I struggled this week. I've been tired. Like, I've slept so much. So this week's training has been rough. I feel, actually, basketball-wise, I feel ready. Like, strength-wise, could have got an extra couple of sessions in here or there. Life's been tough.
It's been tough for the charity challenge and stuff, mate, hasn't it? Like, that's the thing. That's where we have to adapt as we go along, and we have done, and that's the thing with field athletes, isn't it? And then you've had games come up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
you got to play the games. Like, the sport's the first and foremost.
And at this point, you're not going to gain any strength anyway in the next week.
We're adapting.
No, I go up to Nottingham tomorrow. Last training day as a team. But I think, like, from a basketball point of view, and like from a fitness point of view, like the final that we played in at Cardiff, I can't play any better than that. And I felt fit. I played the whole game. So, like,
40 minutes is it? Or?
30 for the mini tournament, but 30 minutes.
Nice. What's that like? How's that breakdown? 3-10 minutes or?
It's a running clock, like.
Just 30 non-stop.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
like,
wow.
They break it up into like a half, like at 15 minutes, and then it's just weird, like mini tournaments like that, because they're just like, you can play 8 minutes, like running clock. You play 6 minutes running clock. Like, it's really like specific to these mini tournaments. But played well in the final. Like, can't play any better than that. Felt relatively fit. Like, I feel like I probably need to eat a couple of salads like this next couple of weeks before I fly.
You had a vegetable just.
I did. You saw me.
Did have a vegetable. Yeah. I mean, maybe you'd give him a strawberry and that'll help.
Mate. No handouts here, pal. You've got to bring your own strawberries to the podcast.
But I'm as ready as I can be now. like I feel basketball ready.
So at this point, like you said, your train's gone well. You're feeling good. You're obviously not going to cram the strength training in this last minute. How's it looking, Mark? What are you, now that he said he's missed a couple of strength sessions, but he's feeling good? What are you going to do different than you might have always done if you'd have done all his strength? Anything different, or?
I'll probably say the only different thing was, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks ago was perhaps an opportunity for us to really just ramp up and sort of overreach a little bit, but with the games that popped up, like, it just wasn't a sensible decision, so that's where we've had to just back down a little bit. Having said that, like, he's in perfectly great shape to go and do the job he wants to do.
I'm in A shape, yeah.
So, like, you know, you sort of have to adapt and you just bring that down a little bit, and we've kind of I quite like quite an aggressive peak and then a bit of a sort of super compensation from that, but we've just had to adapt a little bit and just go a little bit flatter across the board. But coming up to it now, yeah, so it's like essentially one low session and 2 high is what we've been working at, and we'll go low, moderate, high moving forward for the last couple of weeks, and just deload that last 10 days or so. Probably would have looked at a 2-week gradual deload, but we'll go just 1 week now.
You've got nothing to deload from, have you?
Exactly, because that's what I'm saying.
His fatigue is really low from training. From life it's hard.
So the basis of the week could look like, you know, there's game or practice on the weekend. Monday's like a low session, so with that, taking more sort of care around like the knees, which you know, you've had a bit of issue with split squat and things like that, so we've been playing around trying to find what's comfortable with that. Circle it right back down now to basic split squat work, which is now a lot more pain free than it was, so that's a win. So use that kind of low session, like, it's not, you know, just a fuck around, like, it's like specific to get certain couple of things better. And then obviously, like, a couple of high days which would double up with like the basketball training or the CV work, so high days and then low days with recovery, taking into account, like, you know, obviously the hours he works in the mornings and things like that. Like, for me, it's better to have more days off rather than like more moderate sessions across the week. So we have a couple of 2 hard days a week really, and then which is like a double dip strength and then the conditioning as well.
Are there still hard days if he skips them?
Hard for me, yes.
I guess final question, while you're in Switzerland, do you do any kind of gym work, or is it just all in on basketball? Do you do any kind of, like, I don't know, like recovery stuff in between? What's your kind of go-to in between the games? Because the volume's high, it's like super amount of games. Is it like 1 a day, 2 a day?
So the first 4 days, there'll definitely be 2 games.
A day? Or in the 4 days?
The first 4 days will be 2 games in 2 days in that 4-day stretch. It's really interesting because the GB organisation we have our own physios and S&C people on site, and they like us to do stuff as a team. But it's like so non-specific to a person that it's you do it.
Your hips hurting, but you got to do the ankle stuff because that's what they've said.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good from a team point of view, but like from an actual individual point of view, you kind of go back to your hotel room and do your own stuff. It's
quite nice when it, like, everyone together, like, we battered from that game, let's recover.
Yeah, exactly. And they try and look after us as best they can, but you know, there's 10 teams going, there's like over 150 players, so like it's hard for them to look after everyone. I think the key thing for me is, like, there's 5 physios. Like, I have one particular physio that I go and see, and you know, she knows all of the ailments.
She knows all the nooks and crannies, doesn't
she? She'll rub my feet.
She's a brave woman. Yeah, she's braver than me, Jackie.
Yeah, and you just got to make the most of the things that are there, like, for free, I guess, like in the support.
Well, you've earned it there. Like, it's not free. You've done fucking years of training to get there. And they've supplied you with a physio.
Yeah, and then hopefully get 2 wins out of 3 in the first few days.
Is that what you need to get through? Is it?
Yeah,
pretty much
2 wins out of 3. Otherwise, we're coming home or staying there and not playing basketball.
Just coming home.
Put me back on the rota.
Is there Dan Gallup? Who was that guy that was the professional? Played for the Nuggets. Professional. NBA player.
Gallinari. It wasn't Gallinari. It was a Georgian guy. He'll be there.
Yeah, for Georgia, is it?
Yeah. I can't pronounce his name, unfortunately. Don't want to
George the Georgian.
Georgian.
Decent. Well, I hope you get to match up against him. Although hopefully you get Corbin.
Yeah.
That video with Corbin. Corbin on defense. Awesome, man. I'm happy to round it up there if you want, Mark.
I think that's lovely. It's been a nice little podcast. So
wonderful.
Also, guys, back in the trenches with the video and with the training. So thank you all for listening, guys. We'll get back on these once a week. As always, if you have any feedback or if you have any ideas for the podcast, please let us know, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
2